Hello, everybody. Oh, hold on. I got the music's going in my ear. Ah, there we go. Silence. Now I have silence. And only the sweet, sweet laugh of Anne-Marie. Welcome to Strategy Lab with Anne-Marie. We got Hogue here, too. Everybody loves Hogue and Anne-Marie. How are we trading today? Markets are absolutely all over the place.
They are. Today's been a little bit tough, but I knew it was going to be kind of wonky. And so I locked myself out with like $500 limits. So I still have a couple of combines that I'm working through. But I just locked them out. I said, hey, don't resist the urge to trade here. So I've spent a lot of time studying and taken one or two good trades, but for the most part, I've locked out of two of them, and one of them is still sitting around with room to rumble should it happen.
Anne-Marie, I'm kind of the same way. I mean, when uncertainty and volatility enters the market, I'm more of a okay, let's just get some popcorn and watch kind of guy.
Yeah. I think some people, my husband made this quote a long time ago. What he noticed in the military, because he was a special forces guy, he said some people just run to danger and other people will step back to assess a landscape. And I think that that's true in trading also. Some of us have personalities that are like, oh my gosh, let's just see what happens in here.
Right.
And they enjoy the whip snap. And, maybe it's because there may be a lot like stock market wolf that just says, all right, this is my trade, click. And then there's no afterthought of, wait, is this actually a good trade right here? Or I've already assessed it's a good trade. So I'm not going to double think it or overthink it. And, overall, I think most of us have brain freeze when things get very volatile. And so it might be better to trim back. I literally, in these combines, I took maybe 2 contracts was the most. And normally I will take 3, 4, 5, but I haven't because I don't have a good feel about the market. And I'm actually one of those people sitting on the other side going, we're hearing a lot of bad stuff coming out. But at the end of the day, the bond market isn't moving and gold is fading and oil isn't doing that much. And all of those are risk assets that say when risk is really present, those things will spike. And we just are not seeing that. Maybe yields will spike, and we don't see any of that. So it makes me think, listen, this is just a lot of jawboning so that people don't look like wet noodles, right? So Iran did the bombing because they said Israel did something in Damascus, and so they weren't going to take it lying down, but they gave everybody 72 hours notice, and then
Right.
Now it's, well, we'll respond with, well, nobody wants to look like a wet noodle, right? And it's important, but I don't really think this is any more than jawboning, and people are getting sucked into this fear space that is really driving the markets down at a pretty good clip. Now, that doesn't mean you go, oh, okay, well, let me see what longs I can get involved in. But in hindsight, I'm thinking to myself, well, all the major risk products that I look at, has CL rolled yet?
No, I think it rolls. I think you said tomorrow, right? And and it's about 20 minutes from closing for the U.S. Pit session. So if you are trading crude, you might get. Well, I mean, not a ton, to be honest. So you might get a little bit of volatility in the last 20 minutes. I mentioned this, I think, last week, And even though crude is hovering around like 85, 86, it didn't really reject all that strongly from 87. So we're still, I think, definitely in play for a possible move to the upside, because all this is just another big consolidation. Like we got one there, and then we had one before it broke out. So
Right.
this to me is bullish because it is maintaining price kind of near its recent highs and not getting rejected quickly. As someone used to say, come failed moves, come fast moves. Well, this is not that fast of a sell off, in my opinion. So I still think
Toby,
there are bulls hanging out. What's up?
put it on the daily chart.
I'm on the daily chart, Hope.
That is the day. Oh, well, look at
Yeah,
that. You
yeah,
see that little consolidation we got up there?
yeah, daily range bound.
Rollover range.
Yep.
Mm.
So that's a good point, Hogue. Maybe crude will make a move once everyone's settled up into the new contract. Who knows? But I have not placed any YM trades today. However, I am working some shorts in YM that I don't think will get filled. I was going to work 38,086 and 38,095, and it promptly just walked itself down below 38,000 evens. So that should be a very interesting level, but I am going to pull these orders. I don't see myself getting filled today on those, but maybe we'll pop back up and I'll try again. Anne-Marie, you were talking about doing trading strategy cards. I thought that was pretty cool. Do you want to kind of explain your thoughts behind that?
So we had, and for those of you not in the Topstep Discord, you have to go because it's an extravaganza of ideas and thoughts and studies all together. And inside of Strategy Lab, someone said to me, "Hey, why don't you guys have a game where you draw one of the coaches or one of the members' strategies and you have to trade it for that space?" So I thought, oh, that sounds fun, except we don't have any cards to play that game.
That'd be a fun game.
Yeah, it would be a fun game. So before we get to the game, we got to make the cards. And so these strategy cards are going to end up being in the Topstep Discord, and they're going to come off of Hogue's weekly. They're going to have an overarching support level, and that's going to be what are Hogue's weekly lines in the sand that come out. And when he gives us the daily numbers, those will be the primary areas that we'll start thinking and going, okay, is this where I can put this particular strategy into play? So everything at the anchor is going to come off of major price levels. That's going to be the key zone. It'll be the framework event. So we don't get caught in these little sloppy patches of, I'm seeing a 5-minute bottoming formation, but on the daily chart, there's nothing visible for, 20 points. And so that keeps us from a risk range perspective in line. And so I asked Coach Jay, I asked Coach Dakota, I'm asking Nick, I'm asking John, I'm asking everyone in the space, and we're going to start putting these cards together. I'm going to start working on them this week. So by Friday's Strategy Lab, we'll be able to put something up that says, all right, here is the card, the strategy card for Coach Jay. And this is the entry, this is the risk, this is the potential exit. And then we see how the price action holds. And I think what it'll do is really flesh out, one, the strength of the strategy to see whether we end up having squishy parts that we need to go, hey, maybe we could tighten that up a little bit. Or there's spaces, or there's spaces that we go, nah, you know what, that works perfectly. Maybe this is one we can size with when things look appropriate. And so, And so today, what I want, I think it will be, especially if we get a stack of about 10 of them or 12 of them and they roll around and somebody draws all right, I'm playing the Dakota trade today. let's see how it works. If I've got the opportunity, and then, if I have the cojones, and then that's it.
That's the secret sauce of
That's
cards.
right.
Is can you actually execute what's on the card? But if you are a new trader,
exactly.
yeah, I mean, if you are a new trader, and you should be able to, I think, kind of describe your strategy to someone else and have them be able to execute it. And if they can't do that, there might be a gap or two in your trading system that needs to get maybe patched or fleshed out. But you should be able to get to like 95% of the system, explaining it to somebody else, whether it's the opening range trade or trading ranges in general or breakouts. You should be able to communicate what you are trying to accomplish with your strategy. And we do have NASDAQ actually very, very close to new lows of the day here, just off by a couple ticks in the NASI. So lots of volatility in the markets. YM, yeah, I'm not interested in chasing that short because that's not on my strategy card. That would be going short the bottom of a range. So I do not have an interest in taking that system.
Well,
If
weekly kickoff low in the in the Dow is 37,800.
Ooh, all right. I'm going to put a marker right there.
Weekly kickoff low in the S&Ps is 3103. Our current low is 3106 and a quarter.
Yeah, my targets for Dow were 37,800 and 37,700. So we still got another about 200 points before I think we actually start might getting some resistance or some buyers stepping back in. But those are all daily levels. That goes back to December 20th and January 17th. So revisiting some lows that we made. There were highs back then.
Yeah,
we felt pretty good back then. But when you come back to it on the way down, you kind of just wave, and it's like, hey, remember that? I remember we were there 5 months ago.
We got your UVXY, Anne-Marie, up over 7% today. We've got VIX up over 9% today. A little bit of fear coming in here.
Yeah, I think it is. I think really it's very headline driven, and I think these headlines are algorithmically driven also. There are some really good follows that I follow that do macro stuff and work on the hill. And all of them are saying this is news bait, clickbait. And so listen, we needed the markets to sell off a little bit, but you want markets to sell off in a slow, grinding, orderly fashion, not careening off the side of a cliff. And it feels a little careeny, as it were. So there's that. Side note on these strategy cards, if there's some of you out there in the chat that really feel like your strategies are great and you want us to poke at them and trade them out so that you can see, or you flesh them out, pop them into that strategy lab channel and let us have a look. I mean, if you want to put your money where your mouth is, you can just go ahead and give us a look. Yeah.
It's in there. I can actually see if I'll post the link in chat. I know some people are saying that the link doesn't work, but here's the link directly to the Strategy Lab channel, which is underneath the Coach's Office tab in Discord. There is a link in there. I just posted it in chats. Let's see if I'll wave hi to anybody who's in there right now. But Anne-Marie, you are in there. It looks like you're fairly active. Some XFA traders and some live funded traders. That's pretty awesome. So I would love to actually keep up with this. So I think Eddie's strategy is the one I want to see. He's silently been kind of crushing the gold markets with the 420 1-to-1 strategy. So I want to see his trading strategy card. What's going on over there?
You know what? That would be. I need to reach out to him and ask him if he'd be willing to do the 1, 2, 3 on there, or at least give us the framework, and we can dig it out the rest. But John, let's you said the weekly kickoff low in the YM was 37,800.
Yes.
Okay, what is it for the NQ?
Okay. So it takes a little explanation, but if you check out the daily chart here, okay, the weekly kickoff levels in the NASDAQ did not change from the last week to this week.
Okay, great.
Why? Range.
Got it.
Range. So that remained the same. Okay. Now there is some weak structure down below in the form of gaps and points of control, and we can look at those naked points of control. We can look at those in a second, but looking at the NASDAQ just rallied and fell into range. There wasn't really much of a pullback per se in the NASDAQ, but in the S&Ps and in the Dow, here's the daily in the S&Ps. Okay, we put in the high, and we've been
new lows in
leaking
Dow
to the downside ever since, right?
Yep.
So we just kind of were stuck in this range here. Last week's weekly kickoff low was 5180, which pretty much put in the low from last week.
5180?
5180, correct. Oops.
Okay.
So hang on one second here. I just messed up my charts here. I got to lock these down. So do you remember this megaphone pattern back here?
Yep, sure enough.
Okay, so that's where this line comes in. It's really kind of the next downside target that I see, major downside target in the S&Ps.
And what is that number, sir?
Well, if it were to be today, it would probably be somewhere around 50-45, 50-50, somewhere in there.
There is an 800 resting lot sitting at 50.74.
Wow.
I just saw it. Yeah. It's 796.
Oh, yeah. I see that too. It's a big order. Let's mark that on the chart. 50.74.
And you said 54?
Let's call it about 50-50.
Okay.
Close enough for rock and roll, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to mark that.
And what was the weekly kickoff open? Or that, yeah. What was that number to watch today?
Weekly kickoff open?
Uh-huh.
Well, the weekly kickoff levels are just two basic levels. I don't really have an open, but are you talking about the open range?
All right. So the high and the low. Okay. Got it.
Right.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah. Yep. This move in the ES has been pretty extraordinary. It moved from literally the opening range high at 52.14 all the way down here to 5,100 almost.
Yeah.
That's a pretty honking move there.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the day after that kind of move, we do normally see some sort of snapback.
Or it's kind of a hangover day.
Yeah. All right.
I'm going to try to
so we have
work some shorts in YM.
Let's see. YM?
Yeah, I'm going to try 38,034 and 38,044. It's basically the midway point of the 5-minute range. So we'll see. It's like a continuation short of the current trend in the consolidation. So kind of like nesting consolidations or nesting ranges. The 15-minute range is what I'm looking at right now. That's the most near-term one. Because the Dow is so beat up right now that if you went through the daily 4-hour and 1-hour, you probably wouldn't even get a single consolidation. It's just all red candles straight down. We do have the half-hour range sort of developing. And actually, we'll have a new candlestick in 4 minutes. So that'll be fun to watch to see how this behaves. But it's really the 15-minute that has 1, 2, 3, 4 bars that are all kind of barcoding, if you will. So we're going to try to take the 5-minute range short within the 15-minute range formation.
So, and what is your execution? What is your
what levels? 38,034
yeah.
and 38,044. So it's the midway points.
Okay.
Of
Gotcha.
the 15-minute range, and we actually did reject there before. So I'm kind of wondering if we can maybe make a lower high off of that, and maybe I can get filled. So it'd be a low risk short, in my opinion. Low risk
Gotcha.
short. The best short would be like 38,098, but I don't know if we're gonna be able to get there with how much. Chat thinks we're bullish. That's interesting. We're gonna pull in chat. Are you bullish or bearish the market right now at these levels? So we're not getting. Yeah. What are you thinking, Anne-Marie?
Here's the reason that I'm thinking. Maybe that we could have ourselves a little bit of a floor. I still think your short will work, but I don't know it's going to break to lower lows at this juncture. And a few reasons. One, we're making lower lows away from the volatility band right here, right? It's just dipping lower. The volume on those lower edges is dampening, and we're at extreme levels on negative momentum. Now, we've been on extreme levels for negative momentum for, the better part of an hour and a half or so. But it is sort of saying, hey, listen, if you wanted to take a long here, might not have a ton. It could be a cheap trade.
Yeah.
It could be a cheap trade.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing with range trading in directional markets is that it will always look like a cheap trade because you're always going to get filled at the whatever it is, the lower high of the day. So that's where like range trading can get a little bit tricky because you're always going to get filled on that losing trade, and you're always going to feel like you're chasing the winning trade that's in the direction of the trend. That's why range trading can be very, very difficult.
I hear that. My counter to that would be yes, but if it works, it's great and you get some good signs out of it. And if it doesn't, you clip out very, very quickly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you could easily put on a long here and set your stop to like, below what is this? 37,969 and like go long and then set a stop down there, but not in my plan right now. I still want to see continuation to the downside. I think we're in the middle of no man's land kind of at this level, and I don't think we're going to get support until 37,807. That's just what I'm seeing in the charts, because if you blow it up to like the 1 hour or the 4 hour, there's no reason for this to really start catching a bid, at least from a structural standpoint. We haven't even gotten range bound on a 1 hour yet. So why would I start leaning long if we have 1, 2, 3 hours of just red candles straight down? Doesn't mean it won't happen. Doesn't mean it won't happen. But I typically don't have great luck, trying to catch that sort of bottom. Also, you don't even know like how strong the bottom is going to be, how big the bounce is. It could very easily bounce from 37,983 to 38,098 and then roll back over again. That'd be totally fine. And you wouldn't even notice that on a 1 hour chart. It would just be like a regular red 1 hour bar.
Blip.
Yep.
It would be. Yep. Yeah. It really would be.
Very true. So, John, again, we have 37,800 on the floor. And then what do we have as the weekly kickoff high in the YM?
Alrighty. Weekly kickoff high is 39,050.
Okay, that's interesting. We have a ton uh, single prints.
Oh,
Can tell
did
you
we lose
in
you?
a second.
Oh no, she's back.
50.
Cutting it out a little bit.
Oh, I was gone for a minute? Sorry.
Just a hair. Just a hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we are seeing declining volume on the 5-minute. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 3950 is basically and in
Mhm.
big part chosen there because it's a prominent naked point of control from the 10th of April.
Okay. Let me write that here.
I'm adjusting my stops just a hair.
And what was the date on that naked point of control?
The 10th, last week.
Ah, all right.
We're pretty. Oh, got filled. Big jump.
Uh-oh.
Big jump. So we're short 38,040. Oh, cool. My stop is right where I kind of want it to be. That's nice.
Okay, great.
The one we got to be paying attention to today is the S&P 5103.
Yeah.
Got down to
Check that out.
05 half.
I'm on my 50K account right now, so I have a personal daily loss limit of 500 that we will stick to.
Okay.
Yeah, but we did get filled one short, 38,040. We will have a second position if we can get 38,054. My target for this move is just going to be the downside of the range. If we get filled on a second contract, it'll be downside of the range plus whatever extension we get to the outside. So we'll let this marinate a little bit, but so far the momentum has been good.
While we have you,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about this particular strategy card that might be yours, right?
Yeah,
the
range
one
trades.
of the ones that you. So, but this is not a range trade, right? This is a continuation trade, correct?
It's a continuation in a range trade, yeah. But my setup is always range based. It's always going to be like a 5-minute consolidation. And then all of my levels will be based off of wide ranges. So everything is defined by a range, basically. But I also very easily could have justified not taking this one and then waiting for the 15-minute range to trade, which would be 38,098, which we actually might end up bouncing to. So a little bit of risk to be had here, taking the trade in the middle. Yeah, I know, coincidentally. So we'll kind of see if that rule plays out where it's like, set your entry to where your stop is. But we'll see. All right, now we're short 2 at 38,047.
Okay, so for me, because I had the lower low away from the band and the diminishing volume into the lower levels, I actually took the long at 37,987. And so the target range would be that same area that is your primary short zone. But I'm going to flatten that a little shy of that number. Yeah, and again, it is counter trend. But it had everything showing up that said, all right, one, it's a very key level that I'm seeing on daily formations. It's a round number, and I should see some kind of motion. And what they did was they popped here the first time, came right up into resistance. And so I said, all right, if they come down and hold that low, then that's an area that I can go, wait a second, it dipped and recovered. The volume is dampening, and here I am up into the area. I would get out quickly. I don't want to stay in here simply because doing that. I simply don't want to stay in here because it's in a bottoming pattern, if it's bottoming at all. If it's not bottoming and it can rotate all the way back down, something else going on. So I'll be looking for the second setup that is near that low again, that 37,990, which will work right into your range trading within that lower trending event, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I will be honest. If I did have a card, a trading card right now, on that card would say trade the largest range you have on your chart. That's tradable, and I am not doing that. The largest range I have right now is the 15-minute. So if I did have that card on, this trade is actually kind of against the strategy because I should be waiting for 38,096 or 38,080 because the 15-minute range is the more predominant range. The 5-minute range is not. So this is kind of like an experimental trade in a way, trying to see if like this midpoint sort of strategy can work. I did do it, I think, on Friday, and it did end up working. But this might be, a lesson that I have to write down in my handy dandy journal chat that everybody should have. So we will see how this plays out.
And you could have more than one card. I mean, we have several cards, right?
Oh, sure.
I mean, so this is just my very typical lower low, away from the band. All my momentum indicators are on the floor. And so it tells me, as long as, here's another, let me see if I can expand this into something even bigger. So Max Maserati last week had this, what was he looking at? 30-second candlesticks or something, bananas?
Oh, yeah. He was looking at
right?
30-second candles in the ES, and what he would do, which I thought was pretty interesting, is that he would look for like volume bars that really stick out like a sore thumb, and then he was basically drawing like a resistance line and support line on top and bottom, and he's kind of using that as a level.
Yes. So
like support. Yeah, it was very cool.
I heard that, and I thought, okay, I would probably get a brain seizure if I tried to do that. But
me too.
What if I looked at a 5-minute and I saw volume to the downside continuing to increase, and then volume to the downside beginning to decrease? It tells me to look to the left, and if I can find a floor, I can take that on the bounce. And so this, I'm going to make a card for this, and I'm going to have to give him some credit because it's the first time I've ever looked at volume in this specific way. It's not the way that he looks at it, but it certainly is giving the homage to volume because I hardly ever look at volume. And what I did notice is if you're looking at these tiny candlestick formations and you continue to see these higher bands of negative pressure and then a low band of positive pressure, okay, they're going back down. And as long as it continues to increase and the long action is not as high as the short action, you're headed down. But the moment that short action starts flattening out and you get some long candles, bullish candles that go, oh, I got a little bit more volume than that, you can look at the floor of those candles and go, all right, I'm going to see if that holds for a few candles, and I'm going to buy that bounce. And I'm going to buy it into my resistance, or I'm going to trade it to the VWAP or XYZ. But that's what made me pick the long down here on the second test of that number.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm going to try to add a third to the short side at 38,069, which is the middle of the December daily range. And that's what we kind of rejected before. What is also nice is that so far we've had a series of lower highs kind of be made in the Dow. However, we did bounce at 38,020. So I think this is actually kind of a 50-50 situation as far as how this trade could play out. So we're kind of stuck in the middle of a range. We're waiting for the range to either test the bottom or test the top. And we're kind of in the middle, which is why this is kind of a new situation for me to try to do this middle of range continuation trade. So we're just going to kind of see how it plays out. But, having a little bit like more expanded risk, I think is definitely helpful, because what if you do get that breakout to the upside? It could very easily just come right back in again, and you could miss out on the entire move. So we'll see if this pans out. So far, momentum has been decent, and we have had some issues at 38,020, but if we can get back through there, I think the short is looking very, very healthy.
For sure. So, question for you: are you going to take part of your profit off at the prior lows, or how are you going to manage your profit?
Yeah, so the two targets for the range trade, and this is like part of the discipline challenge that I have this week, is that, and I guess for this trade specifically, it would be bottom of range. So that would be 37,980. And then it'd also be the breakout out of this range, which would be the second contract. So the second contract, we theoretically could hold for a very long time. So I'm leaving it down here at 37,807. That's very, very far away. Will we get there? I mean, honestly, on a day like today, who knows? Who knows? But that is the next level that I have that looks somewhat interesting. But this first take profit of 37,980 it's not the very bottom of the low. It's actually probably like a tick or two above it. Because I do want to make sure I get filled. I don't want to be a dick for a tick. So let's just make sure it's safely within range. So it can do a little bit of a stop run, but we don't have to get every single tick on the way down. It's not important. And we are currently testing this 38,020 level, melted right through that. And I will close my third that never got filled, and we can go to break even on the trade, and we'll kind of hang out here. So we should have continued momentum to the downside. If not, we're break even on this kind of theoretical continuation trade that we placed here.
Nice trade, Dan.
Yeah.
Obi. Nice trade.
Excellent.
Yeah, we got, at the very least, we're break even. But if we get the move that we want, we could be sitting pretty. And I do want to make sure that I do have the discipline to do it, because that's kind of the name of the game that I'm doing right now. I don't have a great system for taking profits, so we're going to try this one until May 1st, and then we're going to try a different one after that. But so far,
what is that
good
strategy? Is it like 2-to-1, or just the other extreme of the balance?
Yeah, extreme. Yeah. So this whole take profit system is based off of ranges, and so my idea is that if we test the top of the range, the next step would be the middle, then the end, then the extension out. So since we only have two contracts and this range is pretty tiny, we're just going to trade the extreme of the range and then the breakout.
Understood. And that's pretty much going to be your strategy card, isn't it?
Yeah. I can write my strategy card in like 5 minutes. It's super easy. As long as you know what a square is, you're good. So if you got past kindergarten, you should be good to go. It's not even a 3D shape. We're just talking squares and rectangles here, people. Super easy. But yeah, so far good momentum to the downside here. We do have some good size. 37,988 has 50 contracts. We got another maybe 120, 150 contracts all day. Oh, they're starting to move them down there. They're walking them down the ladder.
Yeah.
So I'm actually curious if these people even want to get filled on these. So good momentum so far. Currently up 380 unrealized on 2 contracts on the YM. And let's just kind of see how it plays out. Crude. This might not help indices, but I'm kind of happy about it. But crude, after its 1:30 close Central Time, is starting to even push highs a little bit and just ever so slowly just melt up.
Grinding
ever slow. Just grinded. But we're only about 30 points away from getting filled, and which is not that much. It's like 30 ticks, basically.
Yeah.
So very,
still
very
pretty
close to
decent.
getting filled on this first
Pretty
one.
good trade.
Yeah, we're still rolling over.
Yeah.
I know some people were bullish in chat, but listen, if look, we go to here's a great example of a range trade. This is a 5-minute chart on NASDAQ. I mean, anyone can draw this box, right? If you don't know that this is a range, this is about as rangy as it gets right there. And like all you're trying to do for this card, if you will. Well, let me better colors here. So colors are hard, but like this would be like the short that you would want would be like up here in this area, and then the long would just be down here at like 17,865.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty it. That's pretty much it, right?
Nice.
But that's where the extremes are, right? So all you're doing is like identifying the extremes of a range, and that can exist on any single time frame. So yeah, why not just
Goldie, what have we been saying for years? Fade the extremes.
Keep it simple, stupid. Fade the extremes or cheap trades. I think it could have. It's like anything. It's all good. It's all good. So yeah. So Anne-Marie, why did you end up closing out? Is it because we got to the top of range and it looked a little bit tired and exhausted?
I believe that I'm trading counter trend, and so when I'm trading counter trend and I see the lower low, I still notice all of this is red, and I still notice I'm in a steep volatility band that's headed to the south. So there's nothing telling me that I have opportunity for upshot. The traders have not held the higher low. They've not broken out of the resistance. So this bounce said, hey, if I can get 50 something ticks up through that space, I'm golden scalping that edge, right? So every time I listen to Mick, and he encourages people by saying, hey, you stay in longer so that you're in with the trend, that really is a space I have to work on, because I sit on the edge of trading formations. For whatever reason, I seem to look at things late, maybe because my brain runs a little slow. And so I end up sitting in a spot where I go, oh, wait, this could be happening or this could be happening. So I'm going to wait until it rotates in my region, and then I'm going to try and scalp through the ranges up or down or whatever. And so
we have YM on new lows. I actually I did get out of one contract, so we're realized 260. We still have one floating for unrealized of 380. And we are going to hold this trade until it breaks out of this range. So if it ends up re-ranging on like a 5-minute, we'll end up holding it. But we could very easily hold this trade all the way through power hour, as long as it doesn't rip higher. I did move my stop down to just above the kind of like where it exploded to the downside. So it's at 38,018. Please don't tell the Goldman interns. Just let them not know this trade exists. So if we do get filled on this one, that would be 180, which would put us at 4-ish and change, maybe even 420 if the commissions play out right. So that's for you. That's for you, Eddie. So far, this is a super solid trade, and if we'll probably be done with this account for the day if I end up taking a winner here. So
nice trade.
Nice little base hit. Nice little base hit.
Very nice.
So you won. You won on a long. I'm winning on a short. So everything's good. Everything is good, just like that.
Heading back towards weekly kickoff low, 5103.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll probably just start walking our stop down. If we can really want to see this just rip to the downside here. Yeah. Kind of like this, but more. More to the downside.
Of course.
So Anne-Marie, you said you like round numbers. Do those round numbers change in different markets? Like, for example, in crude, I like evens, 20s, 50s, and 80s. What are you seeing in, say, like the indices or the YM? Are there like magic numbers that you like in there?
No, except for, the ones divisible by 5, the hundreds,
Got
the
it.
50s. Those are great. I think those work really well in the ES, except I noticed that they like um, 92 to 87, that sort of number on just before
Mm,
getting to the top of something, or the 47s to, I don't know, 34s. They just get a little bunchy in those halves and uh, aughts, right at the 5
yeah.
level, and then at the aught, and they get pretty bunchy. But I don't not I just uh, I I have always been told, and I thought that my observations confirmed it. The traders like round numbers. They like looking
Yeah.
for
100%.
18,000. They like
Yeah,
looking for
BFRNs,
5,500,
big fat round numbers.
PF. Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
So
yes, yes. Yeah.
so maybe like 37,900. Is that like an example of a level that
Yes,
you
exactly.
think might be
Exactly.
interesting? Okay. Well, if
Yeah.
that's the case,
Yeah.
that'd make me pretty happy. So we'll see. It's still kind of testing lows. I'm on the 1 minute chart, so everything looks a little bit hectic. But on the 5 minute, it has kind of firmly gotten below the lows. So let's see if buy or step in. Anne-Marie or Hogue, is this a level in which you would hop in for a cheap long, or is it a little too risque?
Well, it's right at the bottom. I mean, it just traded two weekly kickoff low in the S&Ps. If there's any correlation, that might be something useful.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Not much of it. You have that correlation site. Oh yeah, but ES is rolling over because they just broke so like another range, chat, right? So
Yeah.
if we can draw a box around it, it's a range, and there it is. And so we got below 51,000, 5105 and a
Oh,
half.
five, yes, that was the previous
Yeah,
low.
yeah, yeah. So that's just kind of rolling to the downside.
And
This
there's
YM
One
that.
trade
tick
is
below,
very nice.
one tick
Go
below
ahead.
weekly kickoff low now. See
Yeah.
if we get a
Wow.
bounce. I want to see it go through and then come back above and then find support there again. That's
Yeah.
what I'd like to see. I don't get to choose that, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. If we can get to like 37,940 and like one more big push down, I'll walk my stop down to just above this 1 minute range. Just like that. Okay, let's move you down a little bit. So
There
now
we
we're
go.
gonna lock in 385.
I like it.
That would be up like 600-ish if this gets flat here. So we're just gonna leave our exit here at 37,977, and we'll keep on walking our stop down if the 1 minute can keep on consolidating. But so far, this has been
So,
a very favorable trade.
yeah, here's a great compare and contrast. Dolby's trade was in the direction of trend and in the
Mhm.
direction of relative momentum. So he is sitting in a trade that has continued to pay. And as he's moved his stop and removed contracts, he still has room in the trade because it is with trend, with momentum. Everything's working out great. For me, much less of a profit margin, but I took the counter trade event bouncing into that resistance. They were both good trades, his and mine. The difference is if you're looking for a trade that's going to not give you a ton of heartache, make sure it's within trend and according to momentum. And that's
Mhm.
exactly what Dolby's trade has proven out for us today. What a great strategy lab.
Yeah,
This
'cause
was
you
great.
got the best of both worlds. And I absolutely agree with you, Henry, that if you are trading counter trend, your exit for take profits are going to be a lot closer than someone who's trading with the range or trading with the trend.
100%.
Because if you're trend trading, you're looking for trend continuation and you want
Yes.
to get much more of the piece of the pie. Whereas if you're counter trend trading, the odds of you catching that a magical reversal are very, very low. Very, very low.
Exactly.
And so you got to be
That's a
see profit, take
great
profit if you're
takeaway.
counter trend.
Yes.
Contrary is
Yes.
see money, take money.
Exactly.
Yes, and if you're trend trading, it's, you know, hands on butts, get into a trade, walk away, don't touch it.
Yep.
And just on cue, I think the Dow's going to get me filled on this one, and we might be
Nice.
done with this trade. So we'll see. I don't want to speak too soon because we're at a pretty important level here at 37,970. This is the bottom of the range. So if it can't get back within range, we might see continuation to the downside, but we'll see what happens. So this is the kind of the spot where all the longs at 37,969 might be covering if they are not confident in their long. Now, if they are confident, they won't cover, and then this should slingshot to the upside. And I would expect us to see top of range of the 15-minute chart.
Hey, what's the tick say for the YM?
$5, just a cool $5.
No, not
awesome.
I mean the tilt. Excuse me, not the tick.
Ooh, tilt. Not sure. We have to see. It's the top of the screen.
Yes, I'm looking right now.
Yeah, it's on a scroller, so it might be a minute before we get it.
Yeah, it's
so
gonna take a.
I'm not sure. It could be long. I'm out. So we got 644 on that one, and we are at new account highs for our 50K, and we might keep on trading this account. So pretty good. Hey, it's already 158. My goodness. My goodness. Well, so much fun talking to Hogue and Marie. The trading card idea is awesome, and I'm gonna work on one. And I can't wait to add that to. Oh, so now we're ripping through.
I took a long again because I'm a glutton for punishment. Still another setup, lower low, away from the band. It's still telling me that there's long action there. So we'll see.
Good stuff. Well, we got another segment coming up. We got Andre and Daniel Inskeep for Power Hour. I think it's going to be a hell of a Power Hour. Markets are cruising today, moving around. So we're going to try to capture a couple of these ticks. No animals were harmed during the filming of Power Hour. It was all catch and release, I swear, chat. So we're going to try to catch a couple of these ticks and then add that profit to our trading combine and see if we can pass. But Power Hour is coming up. Anne-Marie, it was always a pleasure. Hogue, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your insights. And we're going to skedaddle to the next segment with myself, Andre, and Daniel. We will see you in just a minute.